Collector Alliance. Okay, today we have Joe Fiore on our quick chat. Joe Fiore runs Toy Verify, and we are going to be partnering with Toy Verify in regards to authentication and appraisals. Joe, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Where are you from? What do you collect?
Yeah, I got into collecting as a young boy. I got the collecting bug just like most kids growing up, ordering stuff out of catalogs or going to toy stores, or even just random stuff that you'd see whenever your parents were shopping. It started with possibly the cereal, actually, the promotions that AdPack had run through General Mills that really got the fire ignited for Star Wars. And then buying the toys through a consumer's distributing catalog, and then that kind of snowballed into so many other things. I got into comics, and that evolved into collecting the art for the way that those comics were made. And over time, things like numismatics, it just became kind of like this interest in history and research and understanding things that helped with your knowledge of those collectibles, that really kind of segued nicely into the idea of trying to help collectors in that area too, because I started out not knowing a lot, and with the knowledge that and experience that I've got now, I'm able to pay forward that help through something like Toy Verify.
Cool. You do metal detecting as well, correct?
I love it. It's one of my favorite hobbies. It's just amazing. It's just the idea of trying to dig something up that could help you understand so much about local history, or that very spot that you pulled it out of the ground. But the research is actually the more interesting part, because sometimes you dig stuff up, you've got an idea from being really decomposed, and somehow that just becomes more interesting than the actual find itself.
Awesome, man. In regards to Toy Verify, what does Toy Verify do for collectors and or collectors that also want to sell?
So I envision Toy Verify to be just this point of access for collectors to come there and just ask an impartial party to tell them what they had and what it was worth. That has become an incredible experience already, with understanding so many different individual needs of collectors. It could be somebody that had something damaged in shipment, and they just need somebody in their corner to help them walk through what the information they're getting from the insurance company is and whether it's valid. I've had people, just who are trying to sell stuff, and they're getting the runaround, or they're being told that what they're asking might be too much, or that there's some questions of authenticity, and being able to just come to the site and ask somebody to help them with that situation is a tremendous, validation to the reason why I started Toy Verify. And I really feel like it's a necessary thing right now in the market, with values fluctuating the way they are, and just helping people figure out, whether what they have is genuine or not.
Absolutely. I mean, valuations are all over the board right now. I personally get a lot of PMs in messages and text messages and phone calls asking what's the value of this item. And it's really a range. It's really a range. So I think that what you offer is something more solidified, something more legitimate. Also, you're CPPA certified and accredited. What exactly is that?
So I had to go through training to understand the uniform standards and code of practice. I'm bound to a code of ethics. We are doing essentially the work of appraising things in a standardized manner so that when you have an adjuster that's calling you and saying, or a client in this case, who's, they might be fighting tooth and nail on the claim, that standardized practice is understood by that insurance company. So if they try to deviate, I'm now a person in the corner of my client to say, no, what they're doing is wrong. And so that CPPA accreditation is really the idea that you're certifying the information. It's virtually uncontestable, and anybody that would contest it would have to have really strong grounds. And you're just helping people prepare what they own in a way where it's rock solid. There's going to be nobody that can tell you differently.
Why should people authenticate and why should people appraise collectibles? What's the point of it?
So the authentication is a really wide spectrum of different variables. But what it comes down to is you need to be able to establish a really strong chain of ownership, evidence, and just the determination that's real. Unfortunately, anything of value brings in this element of counterfeiting and forging. It exists in every area of collecting. Some of it is just getting better and better. And we as collectors have to recognize that it creates an opportunity for bad operators to build undeserved wealth off of people just not knowing enough. So the idea of authentication is huge just from that point of view. But authentication is also, it goes hand in hand with figuring out value, because unless you know it's real, you can't really start talking about things like, well, it's worth X amount. In the Star Wars realm, something like a vinyl Cape Jawa is probably the one item that people identify most with this issue, because and a perfect example of this would be you own one, you're now involved in a post-loss scenario. You show the pictures that you took of the item, if you took them or if you shared them online, and then the adjuster comes back and says, sorry, but with the pictures you provided, there just isn't enough clarity to see if that cape is real or not. And so when you have somebody that prepares that information in a way where they can see it and there's no doubt anymore, suddenly you can start using those comps for real vinyl Cape Jawa, right? And that's kind of why I think the two really should be inextricably linked.
Yeah. Also, you mentioned basically fair market value and replacement value. Something that you really informed me about is replacement value costs. Something that I'd evaluated my personal collection, provided that to my insurance company, but I provided them the cost, market value cost, not replacement value. Replacement value can be substantially higher than fair market value. So if my home were to burn down or get burglarized or something were to happen with my collection, an act of God, so be it. Right before speaking with you, I had fair market value instead of replacement cost. Replacement cost includes time, energy, efforts, and let's say there's a specific item that's really difficult to find and a collector has it. And I said, hey, I had that in my collection. My home burned down, whatever may have you. I want to buy that from you. And they say, well, the only way I would sell it is if it's way above market, because I don't really want to sell it, but I would at a very, very, high price. So you have to keep that in consideration. That's something that you shared with me that was really unknown to me, and definitely beneficial, and something that everybody should better understand, in my opinion. So you're accredited, you're CPPA accredited. You provide QR codes that link to your site, your 24 to 48 hour turnaround. This is great for insurance purposes when you insure your collectibles, great for reselling, great for replacement. all the above. And you're not just Star Wars, you can do collectibles as a whole. And this is why we're joining forces with the Collector Alliance as well as Toy Verify. Very shortly, we are going to have a Toy Verify button on the site and on the app, where you can go directly to Joe and get items authenticated or appraised. And that's a single item or a large collection. Really excited about that. Something that nobody else really provides on a professional scale. Yeah, you can call your friend up or call up so and so that you don't really know and get an appraisal or an authentication. But if you really are looking for a professional and accredited appraisal and authentication, you want to go through a company that can draft up documentation that is accredited, such as Toy Verify, especially if you're providing it to something like an insurance company. I have worked with Joe. I had purchased my own interesting item. It was a Hungarian bootleg Y-Wing, Return of the Jedi, 1980s or 90s. When it was sold to me, it was a little bit questionable whether the item was authentic. Joe, you went above and beyond. You know, I needed another set of eyes, but I needed a professional set of eyes, not just an emotional response, you know, from somebody in the Star Wars community, or just a quick glimpse, because this thing is actually very valuable. I need to insure it. It's an amazing piece. There are very limited quantity in the world that are available. So, Joe, you went above and beyond. You got in touch with the manufacturer. You got in touch with a family member that worked at the factory. Real briefly, in like 20 seconds, can you explain how that worked out? I mean, I was really excited. I mean, the price was nominal, and it was worth it to me, because at the end of the day, now I know that it's a bona fide Hungarian Y-Wing. It's legitimate, and it's very, very rare, very rare. So share real quick, and then we'll close up.
That Y-Wing is the perfect example of how you bring things like knowledge, experience, research, and technology together, because I had the ability to track down a family member who not only worked for the company, but had shut it down, who had done an incredible job of documentation and preservation. I was able to establish every single detail to the upteenth level. And the tech, really, if you think about it, the tech is a huge part of it, because I was able to communicate with this person via smartphone. Mind you, a lot of it had to be translated from Hungarian. But at the same time, I think it really is a perfect story that reflects on Toy Verify as a whole, because here you had something where you could use that knowledge, that experience, that research, and technology in a way that's accessible now to collectors. And what other perfect way of doing it by providing people with a verified label with a QR code that they can access anytime. I had a tremendous experience. I was able to access a lot of really cool footage of the company doing a toy show that actually showed your Y-Wing as a demonstration piece. So I really thank you for that opportunity.
Thank you for that. It gives me peace of mind, and really appreciate it, man. It was quick. It was efficient. I mean, you're FBI. Pretty impressed with your quality of work. All right, Joe. I'm excited that we're going to be moving forward with TCA. We're going to have Flag account. We're going to have Verify as well with TCA. I think this brings us to a brand new level that supersedes competitors. Really, I don't think our competitors have something of this nature. It's really kind of hearsay and call up Joe Doe on the phone and get their perspective, but it gives us peace of mind that you're accredited and that you've been doing it for a substantial amount of time, and just appreciate you, man. So let's rock and roll, and have a great day.
Thanks, James. Happy to help, man.
See you, man.